So you mentioned TPZ, you mentioned some of the like Darren Benson, um, Dexter,
Sure.
Washington,
Yes.
um, Dave. How active were you in the hashtag release the Snyder Cut campaign? For those who aren't really super familiar, I'm sure most people who are watching or listening to this are, but um, Zack Snyder, director of Justice League, stepped down because of a family tragedy in post production. Long story short, the film was immediately reshot, re-edited to be much more like kid friendly, and they completely overhauled all future projects to kind of go in a different direction from his films. And obviously, when people saw the theatrical version of Justice League in November of 2017, they weren't super happy about it, and hence the hashtag Release a Snyder Cut fan campaign began almost immediately and became this huge thing that eventually led to the release of the movie. But how active were you in the campaign itself? Like, were you a part of any of the fundraisers, um, buying the shirts? What were some of the things that you did in terms of contributing or participating in for not maybe not even just trying to raise awareness to get the movie released itself, which obviously we're all huge fans. We wanted to see it, but um, also the aspect of um, raising money for the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, AFSP.
I was extremely active during the whole campaign. I took part in pretty much every single event, every fundraiser, um every t-shirt campaign that was put out. I was a part of whenever I could, you know, I was in all of it, really. And in the end, I think the thing that probably I was, because every single one of those events I was a part of in terms of, you know, tweeting at a certain time or being a part of the t-shirt campaigns and stuff like that. And a lot of that was done by Mick Doyle with the t-shirts and all that, which was really cool because it was a way to get Zach involved with the designs and all that. It was great. As I said, I went to Pasadena for the FSP walk as well. Was a part of that, and close to the announcement, probably the biggest thing that I was a part of, as was the rest of TPZ, was kind of the curating of the posters. You remember the poster contest?
Yes.
Yeah. So, which was very much deservedly so, won by the great Victor Koo. And I do remember that I was the guy that was handing. Um, I spoke to Victor to get his address that I needed to send to Zach, so Zach could get in touch with him. So that's a cool memory. And huge shout out to Victor. He's great. By the way, the poster is right in front of the staircase that leads down to the stone quarry. And when Zach and I were going down that staircase when we were at his place, I said, "Oh, that's Victor's poster," and he said, "Yeah, Victor's great." Um, so yeah, I was a part of all of it. I remember that the day that everyone was on Twitter pretty much the whole day. I was at a friend's place out of town, and I was being kind of antisocial actually, because I was just going into the next room, just tweeting and tweeting and tweeting and tweeting and kind of monitoring the whole thing. And because at that point, yeah, it was all hands on deck. And yeah, that was cool. And I mean, whatever I could do in terms of, you know, with the music that I was making that had to do with the whole uh, Snyder Cut campaign, there was that too. And there's actually a really cool um, short video that was made by myself, Abdul, also from TPZ, Darren, and this Aussie kid named Soham who did the video. And what I did is I put the voice to the video. Darren wrote the script. Abdul was kind of in the production of the idea of the video. And in the end, I just mixed my voice with the music, which which is recognizable for some fans because it's the music from the Thin Red Line that was actually the score of the first teaser of Man of Steel at Comic-Con. So it's a pretty full circle thing.
Wow.
Yeah, and yeah, that was really cool. It was part of that whole Us United thing, which was nice. Yeah, so I mean, pretty much all of it I've been a part of, and very proud to have been a part of.
Absolutely. And thank you for everything you've done for raising money for suicide prevention, raising awareness about Zach's version of the movie, um, and just it's really cool also to see the like the bonds and the friends that we've made in the process, and people from all over the world,
Absolutely,
like
sure,
you're in Brazil, I am up in the U.S. and northern U.S. in Minnesota, a few hours from the Canadian border. Um, it's from all over, from L.A., you name it. It's so cool that the entire world has become a Justice League.
yes.
No pun intended, but
No, yeah, but that's exactly it. That's exactly it. And no need to thank me because you're part of it. I mean, thank you as well because you wrote a book, man, and the man himself loves your book. So that speaks volumes.
it's a little surreal yet. I have to admit, but but to quote Christopher Reeve's Superman, "Hey, we're all part of the same team."
Yep. That came to mind as well.
Yeah,
We're all part of the same team. Good night.
yeah, great ending to a good movie. Um,
Yes. Wonderful.
yeah, that Man of Steel watch party where Henry Cavill's on there with
Yeah.
Zach and Deborah, and at the very end, we get the big announcement of Zack Snyder's
Right.
Justice League.
Right. Right.
What was it? What was that experience like?
Well, actually, that one was different for me because I was aware beforehand that it was going to happen.
Really?
But yeah. But the thing is, that one I unfortunately wasn't too active because number one, my son was born, but on his third day, my son had an episode where he almost died, and we had to rush him back to the hospital. So he was in the ICU for 3 days,
Mm.
and one of those days was the Man of Steel watch party. So yeah, I didn't get to watch that one live. I had to see it later.
Well, for justifiable reason,
Well,
obviously.
yeah, the
So
most. But thankfully, I mean, everything was fine. It was just a scare. Um, yeah, it was tough times, middle of the whole uh, lockdown craziness and all that, and having to rush back to the hospital with a 3-day-old baby. And yeah, but luckily, it was just a scare and nothing apart from that. But I did know that it was going to happen beforehand because I was speaking to the boys in TPZ, and I'm not sure who it was. It was probably Mick. I'm not too sure. But I think I'm not sure if it was him. I think it was, who said, yeah, he's going to announce it at the end of the watch party, and apparently Henry is coming on. And I remember that when I read that, I was like, that's not possible. I just couldn't believe it. I just thought it was kind of unimaginable. And lo and behold, they did it.
they did it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and thank goodness your son was okay. And
Yeah, of course.
and I hope your experience watching the movie itself, when it first came out, was a better experience.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, when the movie came out, and I was privileged enough to get an anticipated screener of it, along with some other people. Um, it was it was it was very surreal, and I do remember. And at this point, my son was I think he wasn't. Was he one already? What month did it come out again? Was it in March?
March. Yeah,
Yeah, it was
March.
March. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he still wasn't. He still hadn't completed 1 year of age. So I do remember that we had just put him to sleep, and I told my wife, I said, "Look, I'm going to have a long night tonight, if you please." And she's like, "Yeah, I know you've been anticipating this thing. Go for it. I'll watch a bit with you, and then I'm going to head to bed." And I said, "Fine." And she was with me. She wasn't like fully paying attention to the movie as I was. But at one point, I just began to weep and just paused the movie and looked at her, and she was like, "What's wrong with you?" And to me, it was like, this is it. I mean, this is what we've all been waiting for, and it's here, and it's glorious, and it's great. So yeah, very, very, very happy when that finally came out. And
Amen.
yeah. And the thing that was probably tough to deal with was that after it ended, it's like, when's the next one coming out?
Yeah. Well, I mean, how many times have you seen the movie since it first came out?
Oh, heaps.
Yeah.
Like I've lost count. Lost count.
You still
And
watch like multiple times a year, or?
I'll at least a few times a year, probably.
Okay.
And I really enjoy the Justice Gray edition. Love watching that.
Yes.
Love it. Love it. You were talking about Citizen Kane. There's that kind of feel to it. This kind of like this mixture of, I don't know. It kind of harkens back to Orson Welles and Kurosawa at sometimes. I mean, you're watching like Bruce Wayne heading into the village in Iceland, and it's like, wow, this really feels like this old classic movie. Just the way that everything pans out, it's brilliant. So good, so good.
Yeah. Well, like you had mentioned, you get to the end of the movie and you're like, I want to see more. What is your take on the topic of the hashtag Restore the Snyderverse movement that began after Zack Snyder's Justice League was released?
Mm-hmm. My take. Well, I will say this. I'm definitely not a part of that movement in the way that I was a part of the Release the Snyder Cut movement. Basically because, for pretty much every known reason, what we set out to do was done, right? In terms of getting the movie released, raising awareness for suicide prevention, and ultimately, what I believe was kind of like righting this huge wrong in terms of what happened to Zach, what happened to the movie, all of that. Which to me was kind of the common denominator for me was like, they did him dirty, and I want to be able to be a part of undoing that for him in the best of my capacity. Would I love to see the Snyderverse restored? Absolutely. Absolutely. I would absolutely be on board. But at the same time, I invested a lot of time and energy into the whole Release the Snyder Cut thing. And honestly, the only thing that would really make me rally behind that sort of thing would be if Zack was actively coming to me and saying, "Look, can you help me with this?" Sure, absolutely. I don't know where it's at. I don't know if there is an actual future for it. Stranger things have happened. We don't know. With this whole shakeup with Warner Brothers being bought, first it was Netflix, and then Netflix isn't in anymore. Now it's Paramount. Who knows? Who knows? I mean, if it ever happens, it would be great. I would be thrilled out of my mind to see that wonderful epic story be brought back to life. We'll see what the future holds. I mean, I think mainly the reason why I'm not a huge supporter of the whole restore the Snyderverse thing is because of what I said. What we set out to do, we did. And let's be grateful for what we got, because it's completely unprecedented. Absolutely unprecedented. That sort of thing has never been done before. Which was one of the reasons why so many people believed that it couldn't and wouldn't be done. Yet it happened. It's funny because, of course, one begins to think, like you said, it's been 10 years since BVS. The cast isn't getting any younger. So how long do we wait for something like that? Having said that, I will say that one of my biggest dreams, I've said this to Zach, but he delved into another similar subject. But I told him to his face, I said, my biggest dream would be for you to take a dig at Kingdom Come with your cast. And
Yeah.
he just looked and he said, how about if I do The Dark Knight Returns?
Of
So
course.
he just kind of flipped it. And I was like, yeah, sure. I mean, I'd love that. But yeah. So that's something that I would love to see. I mean, an older Henry Cavill, an older Affleck, everyone there, it could work. I mean,
Absolutely. Absolutely. Totally agree. I mean, the way I view it is like you said, it's been quite a while since they have filmed these movies. They're not getting any younger. Um, I think part of what made it somewhat possible before was that the movie was pretty much mostly already shot, and a lot of it was already edited.
exactly.
You
That's
know,
right.
it was just a matter of touch ups and releasing it.
That's right.
The distribution of it, right? Which was a doable thing. It doesn't, like you said, it didn't seem like it at the time for a lot of people because it was just an unprecedented kind of release. Thank heavens we have it. But
Yes.
I think before the movie was shot, right? It's a totally different thing when you don't have a script for a movie yet, let alone the sets and shooting it and editing it and finding a home for it, whether that's HBO Max or whether that's in movie theaters, IMAX, whatever, right? So it's a totally different ballgame. So it's much more difficult to make that happen. So I had to kind of make peace with the fact that, yeah, the Snyder Cut, Zack Snyder's Justice League was probably the last we would see, at least in live action. How do you feel
Yes.
about the potential for, um, like a graphic novel, or some people refer to it as the A word, animation?
The A word. I'm open to any of it. Any of it. I mean, if it comes out as a graphic novel, I'll be there day one to buy it. If it comes out in animated form, bring it on. I'd love it. Um, Anything that comes out of that specific story, that specific interpretation of this universe of DC characters and DC lore and DC myths, the whole Gods Among Us thing, which was done so well and with such love for the material, I'm game for any of it. So, yeah, I have no. I do know that there are a bunch of people who would say, "No, if it's not a movie, I don't want it." Look, I'm in no position to choose, first of all,
Yeah,
and
right.
and and foremost, I'm a huge supporter of Zach's work. I love the stuff that he does. I really enjoyed Rebel Moon. I really enjoyed Twilight of the Gods. Love Army of the Dead. Not just because I'm a fan of him as an artist, but I'm a fan of the guy. Um, I consider him a friend, and uh, I've told this to him on many occasions that if there's anything that I can do for him, uh, I'll do it. I mean, that to help, whatever it may be. And so, yeah, fundamentally to me, that's what it's about.
Yeah, I've always kind of maintained the same idea too, and like the same position of I want what Zach wants. If he wants to do it live action, then I support that. If he wants to do it animation or graphic novel, I support that. If he wants to do his own IP, I support that. So at the end of the day, like that's where I'm at. I would love
Sure.
more, obviously, but um, you know, it, I want what Zach wants, and whatever he
Yes.
wants to do, I'm game.
Yeah. Same. Absolute same over here, man.
So just to kind of put a button on that topic, Man of Steel, Batman v Superman, Zack Snyder's Justice League. What would you say is your favorite moment or favorite aspect of each movie?
Hmm. Now that is a tough one to answer. Wow.
Sorry, that was a loaded question.
Yeah. No kidding.
Where do you start,
Um,
right?
yeah, where to start? That's a tough one. That's a very tough one. I may not be able to give one specific moment, but the thing that I really appreciate is that in each one of those movies, you have kind of an underlying theme. Um, Man of Steel essentially is a movie about fatherhood, if you really think about it. I mean, the whole idea of Kal-El been having been born on Krypton, having one father, and then having another father, and dealing with those two relationships. But it is essentially a story about the relationship between a father and a son. And that's really, really, really powerful for me. I'm very, very, very close to my dad, and I've always seen a similarity between myself and my father and Kal-El and Jor-El. Not saying that I think I'm Superman. That's not it. But the admiration for one's father and the respect for one's father, and that's very deeply ingrained in that story. And I do remember that before Man of Steel came out, I did have one concern that thankfully was 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 of no consequence at all. Because one thing that I did love very much about the Christopher Reeve, uh, well, not the movies, but specifically the first and the second movie, Richard Donner's interpretation, was the impact of the relationship between Kal-El and Jor-El. And I was concerned that that wouldn't be as present in Man of Steel. Well, at the end of the day, it's way more present. Not only with Kal-El and Jor-El, but Kal-El and Jonathan Kent. And so in Man of Steel, you have that fatherhood aspect. In BVS, you have the motherhood aspect, right? And Justice League, you have the family aspect. So I think those three themes, they're just so beautifully spread out into the stories. And I think that's the strength of these stories, because if that kind of heart didn't exist in each one of these movies, they probably wouldn't have the same impact.